All right, week one is just about in the books in college football. I'm going to tell you everything I'm buying and selling from week one right after the stinger. It's Felix Sharp at Sharp Review on Twitter for CampusToCan.com. If you like this video, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel so you never miss any of the content that we're dropping. Just hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Do it right now. If you don't know what we're doing at CampusToCan.com, we're playing fantasy football with all of these college players. Anybody that you saw from this week, you can have them rostered in a Campus to Can league, get their points, and then when they declare for the NFL draft, they're added to your NFL team. If that sounds chaotic, just hit the link in the description box and I'll tell you more about it. So this is everything that I'm buying and selling from week one in college football. The first thing I'm buying is Dion Sanders as a leader, as a CEO type. Unconventional as he may be, and as different as of approach as he had at Colorado this year, 60-plus transfers, et cetera, those guys played disciplined football last year. Shedeur Sanders was poised. Yes, his stats overall, over 500 yards passing were great, but it's what he did on third and fourth down, and when he was asked to throw the ball downfield, he was accurate. Some of those passes hit receivers off of their fingertips, but I thought they tackled well, specifically in the first half. Just one penalty in the first half with the team with 60-plus transfers, only 3 returning starters. You got to give it to him. Mentioned Dion Sanders as a CEO. Of those 60 transfers, he had 2 new coordinators in Charles Kelly and Sean Lewis. I think that you have to give them a ton of respect and give Coach Prime a ton of respect for bringing them on, especially Sean Lewis, who in the college fantasy community, we were very familiar with his work at Kent State. But I don't think that we thought we would see everything mesh together so well this learning early on, especially offensively. You have that much turnover. You don't think that you're going to see that unit operate as efficiently as they did. Let's see what they do this week against Nebraska. But I'm just buying Dion Sanders as a CEO, as a leader. Number 2, I'm buying Keon Coleman not just as a good college wide receiver. He might have an NFL future. Now, the 6'4", 205-pound wide receiver, they had their era from 1998, 2010-ish or so. We saw a lot of these guys. I mean, your boundary X wide receiver was this guy who could catch contested catches and make plays in the red zone. I was trying to think of it. When's the last time we've seen an offense really go to the fade at the goal line? It's just they play an efficiency game now, and the model at wide receiver has been shorter guys, speed guys. We've seen Jalen Waddle. We've seen Tutu Atwell go in the second round. Tutu Atwell at 5'8", 165 pounds go in the first round. Marquise Hollywood Brown. John Ross in the first round. It seems like the bygone era is the guy like Herman Moore. Herman Moore, one of my favorite Detroit Lions. That's what Keon Coleman is, but you saw in that game against LSU, you saw him break a tackle, run after the catch, in addition to the stuff that we already knew about him. We knew about Keon Coleman in this community at Michigan State, that he was going to play both sports, that he was great in both, that he could be a contested catch guy, and that is what we saw at MSU last year. Now, obviously, the eyes of the country were not on the Spartans last year like they will be on Florida State as they try to get to the college football national championship, the playoff, and a lot of people think that they can win the ACC. But Keon Coleman, I mean, if the NFL wants to go back to that George Pickens style, that Mike Williams style, that Dez Bryant style, why not Keon Coleman? Especially if he's going to break tackles and run for touchdowns. So I really like Keon Coleman. Speaking of the smaller wide receiver, shout out to Belleville. If you don't know about Belleville in Michigan, Belleville High School, Purdue, they got the number 1 quarterback in the class of 2025. Not talking about him today. I am talking about Dion Burks, the wide receiver out of Purdue. Excellent performance yesterday. We saw him Saturday, excuse me. We saw him bounce off of cornerbacks and get yards after the catch. 5'11", 195 pounds. That's actually the mold of wide receiver that we see the NFL is looking for today. I asked Alan True, friend of mine from 24/7 Sports. Alan lives in Michigan, so Belleville covers his territory. I'm just like, tell me about this guy. He said, I thought he was excellent. I really liked him coming in as a freshman. I liked him. If you're a wide receiver, this is his third year, so I don't know what his classification is. This is his third year. If you're a wide receiver who's going to be able to catch the ball in traffic on these RPOs and then run after the catch, you really have a high ceiling. I just don't know, where has he been the last 2 years? That's what's confusing me. The last 2 years, where has Dion Burks been? But in that system, and the way he played, I mean, he had a lot of juice yesterday. Again, getting yards after the catch. I wish I could see this 2 weeks in a row before I place a waiver claim for him in my Campus to Canton leagues, but I'm going to have to go ahead and everybody's going to roster him after this week. Everybody's going to roster him. So I'm buying Dion Burks as a legitimate college football player, and I can't wait to see what he does here in week 2, because that skill set of being able to break tackles at the wide receiver position it just gives you a very high ceiling. So let's see Dion Burks in week 2. I'm buying Michael Penix Jr. as a Heisman candidate. I mean, Washington 10th in the country in adjusted returning production at 76%. They got everybody back, and we kind of knew that. Michael Penix Jr. in his 6th year. If you've been following me for any amount of time on Twitter or at the Devy Debate podcast feed, by the way, Campus to Canton, wherever you get your podcasts, I've been a fan of Michael Penix Jr. since his time at Indiana. He has a strong arm. He's fearless. He loves to throw the ball downfield. In this era of high completion percentage, we see a lot of quarterbacks who do the dink and dunk stuff. But Michael Penix Jr., to his credit, from his time at Indiana, when he was throwing to Whop Phillier and Ty Freifogel and Peyton Hendershot at tight end, he has been a player that wants to throw the ball downfield, who is unafraid, who's not afraid of windows. With what Washington has back, and we've seen USC not be able to stop anybody defensively. Utah doesn't have his starting quarterback. I mean, who else are you competing? Of course, Oregon's there in the Pac-12, the Pac-2 after this year. Michael Penix Jr. is going to have his team right there in the Pac-12. They might be undefeated. They might be there for the college football playoff. And with Jalen McMillan, with Polk, with Rome Odunze, be 400 yards and 3-4 touchdowns as possible every single week. And he has so much chemistry with Kalen DeBoer. That's why he's at Washington. Michael Penix Jr., as we kind of all knew, I mean, he was a dark horse Heisman candidate. I think after this week, you got to think Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, Michael Penix Jr. right up there in the Heisman race. That's what New York looks like early on. I'm buying Braylon Allen as a pass catcher. 7 receptions. Thank you, Phil Longo. Not only am I buying Braylon Allen as a pass catcher, if he does this on the year, the whole year, we could be talking, and I didn't think that this was the case, we could be talking about a running back being taken at the end of the first round. Now, we know that the NFL has changed, and we see running backs taken on day 2, on day 3. That's where the value is. But Braylon Allen also already presents a unique skill set in what he brings, from a size and athleticism perspective, but we didn't see him catch the ball. 7 receptions, by far the most he's had in any particular game in his young career. If this is going to be what we're going to see, now only 25 yards receiving, but if we're going to see this regularly, and then on top of that, see him deployed downfield a little bit more, get more creative with his usage. Hey, maybe even throw an option route out there. I don't see him having the lateral agility to run those like, Jahmyr Gibbs or Austin Eckler. But it would be interesting to see. We could be talking about, a first-round running back between picks 20 and 32 in the NFL draft next year. Remember, still a really young player. I got him rostered in a lot of places. I am buying the freshman QB class. Has been as advertised. Dante Moore should have started at UCLA in week 1. He didn't, came in and brought them back. Looked excellent. I called Dante Moore a game manager in the Campus to Canton freshman guide, which you can get at campus2canton.com, where we break down all of these guys, really from a fantasy perspective. I called him a game manager. Another kid from Detroit, from Michigan. He's a game manager in that he just takes what is open, what is there. The open three, the open layup. Can he hit the deep three? Yes, he can, and we saw him do that. But this is a player that's not going to take a lot of sacks, who's not going to turn the ball over, who's going to get the ball out quickly and kind of operate within the offense. But occasionally he can break the play. We saw the pass along the corner to J. Michael Sturdivant, where it's a broken play, he rolls out, hits him along the sideline for that long completion. Like, Dante Moore's game is vanilla in like the most complimentary way possible. He's just super polished. So I love Dante Moore. Jackson Arnold didn't even throw an incompletion. A lot of his stuff was horizontal. He did have the one longer touchdown pass, but we knew that Jackson Arnold was a fit with Jeff Lebby. From a ball release standpoint, the quickly to get the ball out on RPOs, from being able to be an asset in the running game. I mean, Jackson Arnold is kind of what we thought he was. He was a second-round startup pick or a first-round supplemental pick. I'm buying the freshman class. We didn't even see Nico Iamaleava. We didn't see Arch Manning. We didn't see Malachi Nelson. Malachi Nelson, by the way, who is coming in third behind Miller Moss. So that's going to be an interesting spring camp in 2024. You know, is Malachi Nelson like clearly the starter, or is it going to be does Miller Moss have a chance? This is one thing I'm buying. This is one thing I'm buying that you won't believe. I'm buying Luke Altmyer at Illinois as an NFL caliber talent. I liked what I saw from Luke Altmyer. Remember, as a freshman coming in from Matt Corral in that bowl game, I like what we saw from him as a freshman. But he's just competent. We also saw him run a little bit more than we did last. Now, the thing with Illinois is that your quarterback's not going to have a lot of like attempts to show off his arm strength and all that stuff. You kind of just got to operate within the offense. But keep an eye on Luke Altmyer as being, you know, a guy who could really elevate his status. I love what Brett Bielema is doing at Illinois, by the way. He's brought that Wisconsin system to Arkansas, and now he's running it at Illinois. I really like what I see from Brett Bielema, but specifically Luke Altmyer. I think that there is something there. By the way, speaking of quarterbacks, we need a quarterback 3 in this 2024 class. We've got Drake May. We've got Caleb Williams. Who's going to be third? I think it could be Michael Pratt out of Tulane. I think that he's in the mix there for 2023. Now, I've been tweeting about Michael Pratt's mechanics since his freshman year there at Tulane. He nearly led them to a conference championship that freshman year. Obviously, he had the win against USC. He nearly beat Caleb Williams and Spencer Rattler that opening game, in 2022 at Oklahoma. Nearly led the comeback there. This is a guy who puts his body in harm's way. He, again, another player like Michael Penix Jr., who's just kind of fearless and will throw the ball. He has all of the tools. He's G5. G5 Will Levis is not a bad comp for Michael Pratt. I mean, he has a lot of gamesmanship there. You know, I just like his profile. Now, he's a G5 player, but he's got the mobility. He started all 3 years. Maybe he comes back next year. But in the class of 2020, for the 2024 NFL draft class, Michael Pratt is right there to me as far as quarterback 3. Now, I don't think that he's a first-round draft pick. I think for 2023, the only quarterbacks that you see go in the first round are Caleb Williams, Drake May. Now, Michael Pratt is there, J.J. McCarthy's there, and Michael Penix Jr. are there. But I think that we only see 2 quarterbacks go in the first round. That's just me. The other guys are going to be taken on day 2. I think we see all those guys the rest of those guys that I named taken on day 2. Here's what I'm selling from week 1. I am selling how Devin Brown was treated by Ryan Day. It was supposed to be a 50-50, a toss-up during camp. They announced Kyle McCord is going to be the starter at the last minute. They say that Devin Brown is going to play. They put him in for 1 series, handed it off twice, and then ran this quarterback draw where they get blown up in the backfield. Man, if you don't know about Devin Brown, coming out of Corner Canyon in Utah, he succeeded Zach Wilson there, averaged nearly 20 yards per attempt his last year in high school on like 4,300 yards passing. So not a small sample size. He is a gunslinger. He is athletic. He can throw the ball downfield. He can do it on the move. That Ohio State offense was pretty stagnant on Saturday. And Ryan Day, in my opinion, if this was truly a toss-up and Devin Brown was right there with Kyle McCord, treat him better. What are you doing? One series, 2 handoffs, a quarterback draw, and he's done? If I was Devin Brown, I'd have put my name into the transfer portal after that game. Get out of here. Now, they have Youngstown State, and then they get Notre Dame. I don't know if they've got a game before the Notre Dame game, but let's see. I would expect Devin Brown to get more time against Youngstown State if he gets to like the whole second half. This is what I think. I think Ryan Day wants Kyle McCord to be the quarterback. He always has. Devin Brown just caused a problem. I don't think Ryan Day wants the country to see how much Devin Brown can ball if given the chance. That's why he didn't have him throw the ball on Saturday. Let's see this week 2, if he gets more time. I'm telling you all, Devin Brown is going to cause a problem because once the country sees, once the Ohio State Buckeye faithful see this kid play, they're going to be calling for his name. It's going to be the same thing like we had with Caleb Williams and Spencer Rattler a couple of years ago at Oklahoma. They're going to be calling Devin Brown's name. Now, this isn't just the case where, the backup is better than the incumbent. No, Devin Brown is a baller in and of his own right. And if for some reason he enters the transfer portal after this season, he will be among the most coveted transfer portal players that we've seen since Caleb Williams. I am selling Kendall Milton as an NFL caliber athlete. He had about 50 yards rushing, got to open space a little bit in this game. I forget who were they playing. I forget who they were playing, but just didn't have the juice. Now, I thought we would see Andrew Paul in this game. We saw a little bit of Roderick Robinson. He's a big boy. I can't. We've been waiting for Kendall Milton to show it. They've got injuries in that backfield. This was the week, if he was going to show it, this would be the week that he would show it. Let's try something else there in the Georgia backfield. We're used to, explosiveness, some playmaking, some tackle breaking. I don't see any of those traits from Kendall Milton. We know he's not a great pass catcher either. Sorry, not sorry. All right. Let me know in the comments what you agree and disagree with as far as my buy and sells from week 1. Georgia fans, you might come after me. Come after me. And if you haven't already, check out campus2canton.com. And again, like the video, subscribe. Peace.